Welcome to the Sports Deli. Check us out online at thesportsdelipodcast.com.
Yeah. Stephen A. Smith is my alter ego. Go somewhere else with that
shit. John, she's roasting your ass right from the jump. We ain't done the intro yet. What the fuck?
To me, Colin Kaepernick is a hero.
So do you have white privilege?
Absolutely.
I think there's a balance between the idea of universal white privilege and it doesn't exist.
Now we have to be a voice as white people.
My grandmother had 8 brothers and 2 sisters. All 8 of them went to Michigan undergrad and Michigan high school. All 8 of them.
No Sparties in the house. All Wolverines.
Couple Sparties now in my generation. So
wow, that's awesome.
About it, African American women last year changed the course of this nation. Women are the backbone, and now we need to support the souls that they stand on.
And now, whether you're folding laundry, driving, exercising, or cooking, grab your favorite deli sandwich or bagel and your favorite beverage, and let's do this together in the Sports Deli. Auntie, take us away. We're so honored to be joined on this 27th day of Get Ready for Kindergarten, Happiness Happens, and National Wellness Month by B Money. The lady in the red dress on Clubhouse, Barbara Majeski. After being a stay-at-home mom for a decade, she unconventionally broke through the TV and talk show industry as a lifestyle expert and more against all odds. She was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, and today you will hear the rest of the story. Barbara Schwartz used to pool jump as a kid because she never had a pool of her own, but not anymore. She loves quoting Snoopy Pants. She has 3 brothers, including a twin. She talks about practicing compassion and understanding because you just never know what someone is going through. Her son has epilepsy, and she had to navigate that space with his seizures, but he's also a baller. So I'm excited to talk to her about that. As most of you know, I've been coaching for 30 years. She has a freaking indoor basketball court in her house after knocking the walls and ceilings down in one of her bedrooms. She loves her Babs by the Beach House getaway in Jersey, where she goes to decompress and recharge her batteries. Her enthusiasm is so genuine and contagious, as is her infectious smile. She's 5 foot cute in her own words, but her capacity to listen, love, and give has allowed her to reach unimaginable heights. When she was going through chemo, she didn't know she was going to get through the 12 rounds, especially when she was at round 8, which she'll talk about later. Ironically, her chemo treatments were right down the street from her dream job, the Today Show. She loves the African proverb, alone you can go fast, but together you can go far. She believes we're all equal and in non-negotiables. She adores her 3 kids, loves coffee, and daily affirmations are hugely important to her blueprint for success. She believes that all ships rise in high tide. She's run several marathons. She does yoga. She offers a 14-day challenge. She had a podcast, Bearing It All, that you can still listen to. She loves Oprah. And you don't want to miss the story about Barkley. And no, I'm not talking about Charles. She loves reading memoirs and writing letters of forgiveness. She shares a birthday with Carol Burnett and was born the same year as all 5 of the Michigan Fab Five of Juwan Howard, Jalen Rose, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, and Chris Webber. You can find her on BarbaraMajeski.com, of course, and on Instagram and Twitter at Barbara Majeski, and on Clubhouse in Breakfast with Champions. Barbara, to say that it's truly an honor to have you on the Sports Deli Podcast, where everyone deserves a seat at the table, is an understatement. So welcome. Way to get that karma.
That was the nicest introduction. I appreciate all that work you put into that. I don't think you missed anything. That is really impressive, and I'm very flattered. So thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Truly blessed to have you here. And so we had similar upbringings. As I mentioned, your maiden name, right, Barbara Schwartz. So can you just talk briefly about, because I know for me, like growing up, even though I had my challenges, my father committed suicide when I was 9, and, my mom and dad broke up when I was younger. But the traditions of growing up in a Jewish household are something that I savor to this day, whether it's, finding the afikoman or, the families getting together for the Jewish holidays. So talk about that as it sort of leads into some of the other questions I want to ask you today.
Thank you. That's a great start. So I am a descendant of Holocaust survivors. My father was born on a train as my grandparents were escaping Russian persecution. He spent the first 5 years of his life in a displaced persons camp, and his first language is not English, it's actually Yiddish. He does still understand German to this day. He has an incredible mind, and he can still recall being in this displaced persons camp. So I grew up, in the Jewish families, we're all very, very close, but I grew up very aware of my grandparents' thick Polish accent and the fact that they had no family left, that they all perished in Auschwitz. So I have a proud Jewish heritage. I also have a proud American heritage in that my dad's a proud American. My grandparents were so grateful to be here on this soil. So American freedoms are a big deal. I just recently bought a shore house down at the Jersey Shore. That's the only place you call a shore house is the Jersey Shore. And my dad came down, and the first thing he did and said, he's like, "You don't have your American flag." And he walked right over to that hardware store.
Wow.
Walked and came home. So within an hour of my father being here, he had the American flag flying. So we are proud Jews and proud Americans. And because I grew up in more of that kind of Judaism and that kind of space. When you ask me about Judaism, it's that I'm a proud descendant of Holocaust survivors, and I'm also a proud American that believes strongly in the Constitution and our rights. So yeah, that's what when I think of when you bring that up.
Wow, that's fascinating. I had not expected that for sure. That's very interesting. And
yeah.
So how was your experience in high school and leading into college and things of that nature? Like how did it mold you because you've lived 3 lives, sort of, right? Your early life, and then your married life, and then your post married and post cancer life, right?
I love where this is going, because I'm gonna jump right on that.
Go ahead,
I am a descendant of survivors, and I identify strongly with survivorhood and being resilient and tenacious. I feel that I am empowered and emboldened that my grandparents survived the Holocaust when so many people perished, including their family. And I draw upon that heritage and that strength over and over again. I feel that I have incredible intestinal fortitude because of it. I actually delivered 2 out of my 3 children naturally. And the reason I did my third was by choice. My first was by accident. And then my second, I did do, medically, but my third, I will say, because it was I chose to do it naturally, no drugs, no nothing. I drew upon the strength of my grandmother. She gave birth on a train. I'm like, well, I am built for this. I know. But that's when you ask that question, that's where I go. I'm like, I am really of great, powerful, survivorship. And when I've been through difficult times, I know who I am. So I feel like that's my answer. I am of great intestinal fortitude, great resilience, great power.
I want to ask you this in the interest of time. So where was the disconnect? Because there had to have been a gap there where you're sitting at home with the kids, and there's something missing, right? We all have felt that at some point in time in our lives. And so did a light go on? What actually happened? Obviously we want to talk about the Today Show, but to me, that's never the most important thing. It's more important that we talk about equality. You just talked about empowerment. I have a almost 11-year-old daughter. Obviously your 3 kids are very important to you. So, but what changed from one life to the next? Was it just cancer, or was it that you realized that you were with a partner who you've talked about, on many occasions, that it was a learning situation? It didn't work out in the end, but you learned a lot from it, and it made you a better version of yourself. So how did you bridge the gap with the disconnect that happened between your 3 different lives?
So you're talking about my divorce, how that
you're divorced, but going from your early years through college, and then you have kids, and maybe you thought this was wonderful, stay at home mom, blah blah blah, for a decade, and then things either happened in your heart and your mind, and you're realizing you're not following your compass. And then obviously cancer is something that will
Yeah.
make shit or get off the pot real quick.
Yeah. So I always say cancer happened for me, not to me, because it did, although it did break me down in certain ways, it was definitely more of a breakthrough, because when you're confronted with your own mortality, you want a second shot. You're like, whoa, you're proud of, like, I remember reflecting when I was really struggling with chemo on all the things I wanted to be known for and remembered. I was like, oh, I hope, if I don't get through these are the things. But then I was like, wait a second, I left so much on the table. I left so much undone. And the only thing stopping me was me. I realized, like, I never even tried to do TV. I never even tried to do this, that, the other thing. I just talked myself out of why I shouldn't. And listen, I live 60 miles away from the Today Show, from 60 Rockefeller Center. Like, I live 60 miles outside of New York City, the epicenter of media and opportunity. And like, I was like, wait a second. If I wanted to, I would. Why am I not? So it was really being confronted with my own mortality, that I was like, if I get another shot, I'll never play small again. I'll swipe left on negative self-talk, and I'll get out of my own way, because I realized, like, you're supposed to leave it all out in the fields in life. You're not supposed to leave things unsaid. You're supposed to try it all and throw it on the wall. You're supposed to fail and you're supposed to suck at things, and you're supposed to embarrass yourself and have great stories for your grandkids in the process. Like, you're not supposed to, this isn't, life isn't a dress rehearsal. We're supposed to just go out there and like leave it all on empty, wheels, bald wheels, flat tires, and doors hanging off. We're not supposed to show up in a pretty package. We really are supposed to leave it all out on the fields. And so I know it was that, and it did move me off my marriage too, of like realizing that it had run its course. I never call my marriage a failure. And when I hear other people say my marriage failed, that's a narrative that's not serving. That's a negative. Relationships don't have to be permanent to be successful. And I take away so much more in positivity from my marriage, from the man I was married to, than I will ever take away negatives. My divorce was difficult, but it didn't, again, it happened for me, and it has built things within me and muscles that I never would have had access to. And compassion. I'm just a better person through my tragedies and my traumas and my hardships than anything else. I'm not bitter. I'm actually better through the things that I've been through. And I walk away from the marriage, I'm not married anymore and I'm divorced, but I am a better person for it. And I'm a better person for have been married to him. He taught me so much. I have 3 amazing kids. I'm a mother. I got to be a stay-at-home mom. I have so much more in my arsenal of life because of life experiences. And there's a great, it's called kintsugi, which is this Japanese pottery that I heard about through Clubhouse that I love. And when pottery breaks, it's put back together with the cracks lined with gold. And the pottery now, with its cracks and its flaws, is more valuable than it was in its original state. And I believe that's really how we need to look at ourselves and the things that we've been through. And I am a more valuable person to society and humanity because of my experiences, to which I'm able to draw from. So I hope that answers your question, but that's me.
Sports Deli is sponsored by SportRx, the leader in sport prescription eyewear. You can find them online at sportrx.com, and don't forget to enter the code DELI10 at checkout for your special 10% discount. And now back to this incredible interview right here on the Sports Deli. Yeah, it's fascinating. The couple things that come to mind are synergistically, we usually talk about the sum of the parts are greater than themselves, but now the sum of your parts are greater than your original self. Mm-hmm. And so that in and of itself to me is just fascinating. And so it seemed like everything just came flooding to the surface that maybe you said you talked yourself out of, and those types of things. And now you're just taking off and running with it, and that we talk about that a lot in sports, but today we're pivoting a little bit and showing our agility, and you maybe thought you were going to talk a little more about sports, but I care about people's stories and being a better version of myself and learning from smarter and people with different experiences as well. So I appreciate your candor and your thoughtfulness with regards to that question. And so I want to ask you, unless you have a follow-up to that, is there something else?
The only thing that I would say is that it is a process. When you're going through hardships, you got to go through the suck.
Yeah, we don't want to oversimplify the whole process.
Yeah, you don't. And there's just real suck out there. There's just really crappy times. And it's not a matter of being like, well, I'm positive. And you just almost have to take a pause and be like, I'm just in a difficult space. And what has helped me is the power of surrender and knowing that things are happening for you. Being reminded of that. I remember reading Gabby Bernstein, and it just happened to come across my newsfeed. And she was like, when you think you can't surrender anymore, surrender some more. And it's just like when things just the hardships get harder and something else is layered on top of it, having that faith that the universe will ultimately conspire in your favor, because that's sometimes all you have left is faith and surrender. It's like you're down, you're like, I just am broken and I don't see the lessons and I don't understand any of this. And I'm really just miserable, and being like, I'm just taking a pause and be like, I'm just in the suck right now. And athletes go through that. We all go through that. We're just like, what is this all about? That I've never been disappointed as to where I've landed after setbacks. Never been like, oh, this isn't where I wanted, but like, this is like, oh, this is better than I thought. I didn't see this for myself. So I'm grateful for those moments, because again, it aligns me to the human experience with everyone else of like, yeah, I've been there. I've been in the fetal position with like, this is really hard. Who said life was going to be this hard? So I don't know if that speaks to you.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's definitely a lot of gold in your cracks. That's for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I know people who are around you, and every time I listen to you, and there's moments when you cry probably still, or you're having, but when you surround yourself with a support system that nurtures you and you feed off of that, and, Clubhouse every day, even on your worst day, you can't be in a better mood after listening to some of the things, even if it's more on a spiritual path or a business path. There's always messages within the messages that you just stop in your tracks and you're just like, wow, it never gets old. It's just an amazing experience to be, for those of you that haven't been either on the Clubhouse app or in Breakfast with Champions. I don't get paid one dime to promote it, but it's amazing. There's like up to 18 hours of content every day, 7 days a week. Saturday and Sunday are a little bit less, but it's fascinating to go in there even for 10 minutes if you have 10 minutes. And Barbara's in there a lot, so I encourage you to check that out.
Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm. Now
so I like. Go ahead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
So let me jump ahead because I want to get to the rapid fire, because that's usually the fun part of the show. So I don't want to miss out on that, because I know you got about 20 minutes. Yeah, I know. So talk about, because I know like I've had some firsts, and for you, your dream job came to fruition. And so can you talk about the natural progression to getting there? And then were you nervous the first day, or you're like, man, this is nothing compared to what I've been through? Sports Deli is sponsored by Moolah Kicks. Moolah is Moolah, like money, moolah, and kicks like shoes, one word. You can find them online at moolahkicks.com. And it's the first ever female only brand basketball shoe. So it's a shout out to the basketball street culture, and it is also about fighting social injustice and gender inequality worldwide and here in the United States. And again, you can find them at moolahkicks.com. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli.
Well, this is a great question. I'm really enjoying this conversation, because when I got to the Today Show for my first booking, my first appearance on television was on the Today Show. I seem to have skipped everything else. I ended up hiring a really good media trainer, and through my sales experience, I really already had kind of the scaffolding for being able to think on my feet and kind of just speak in sound bites. So when I got to the Today Show, what is kind of interesting, and I hope lands with your audience, I knew I was where I was supposed to be. I had envisioned myself on the Today Show for years. I just had really gotten in my own way that I would talk myself out of anything to get in that space. I never took initiatives until I got through cancer to really train myself to be on TV. but I'd always envisioned myself on the plaza and in the green room. And I showed up at the Today Show and I was like, oh, I have been here before. I didn't feel out of place. I didn't feel like an imposter. I didn't feel anything. All I felt, I was like, oh yeah, this is where I am supposed to be. And the cameras rolled and they said, let's go. And I was like, yep, I'm right exactly where I should be. It wasn't by accident. It wasn't unexpected. I was like, I belong here. And that's what's really powerful about, setting forth intentions, and whether you call it goals or manifestation or ambitions or objectives, these are all semantics. It's a matter of really designing your life and seeing yourself for all the magic that you have, and then putting it into play, not just dreaming it, but putting in the pieces. So when I got to the Today Show, I was like, yep, I'm supposed to be here.
That's amazing. And that's like sports, right? Like if you haven't been there a million times in your own head, when you have to hit that last game-winning shot or whatever the case may be, and then, there's nothing like obviously being on top and winning a championship, but man, that's I can't even just
in sports about it. The great analogy is when you get that jersey, you get like that varsity jersey or the that NFL jersey or NBA jersey, like you put it on and you're like, oh yeah, I have earned this jersey. You have earned it through your perseverance, tenacity, sacrifice, commitment, like all the grind, and you put it on, you're like
racism, inequality, a lot of other things as well.
Oh, adversity, setbacks, injuries, doubt, disappointment, discouragement. You have overcome it all, and you put that jersey on and you fill it out. It is the same jersey that I put on at the Today Show. I was like, I have definitely done my work to get here. And although, again, I say that I landed on the Today Show and skipped, but I didn't skip things. I just took a different path to get to the Today Show, but it all led me there. I did direct sales, commission-based. I did public speaking. I did everything I needed to do to get there. It just was an unconventional path, but it was a path. I'm kind of more like that Disney movie of that guy who was like, I think it was like a dad and just all of a sudden showed up out of nowhere in Iowa. I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do it. And his wife pushed him. And next thing you know, or that Zamboni driver. Do you remember that? Zamboni driver? I love those stories.
I was not going to ask you a Zamboni question in the rapid fire, but I might have to now. So, there's a lot of people that get their foot in the door. But not everyone stays. And there's reasons that, we could talk about. And so getting there is worthy of a book in and of itself. Jamel Hill wasn't successful on ESPN for certain reasons, Michael Smith, there's story after story. And so, but staying there and creating longevity, has to do with a lot of what you're about. And we could probably talk about this on another show, but I wanted to make the point about who you are, what you embody, how you try and help other people be the best versions of themselves, relationships. And that is something that resonates with not just the people that you talk to in their living rooms, but I would imagine everyone you cross paths with, from the camera person to the producers to the directors. I haven't ever read one negative thing or heard one negative thing about Barbara Majeski, and that's not by accident.
Well, thank you. I have gotten direct messages that are pretty nasty.
Well, that's fine. That's you can't, the extremes you can't really negotiate with. We just try and grab the people in the gray area. Same thing on the show. I hope most people listening don't agree with me, so that we can maybe educate without ramming it down their throat. And, they may see things from a different perspective. And typically we talk about equality and systemic racism and a lot of those types of issues in sports and those intersections. So I want to ask you one question before the rapid fire. And like I said, in the interest of time. So words matter, right? Especially in your business, narratives matter. A lot of it is outside of your control because, you're at the mercy, just like Roger Goodell in the NFL, he's at the mercy of the owners and that type of thing. So my hat, bet on women, or, the notorious RBG on my shirt, things that you talk about all the time. What is the responsibility now? And how is that different? Because in sports, it was shut up and dribble unfortunately, by a person on that other network that said that to LeBron. And so now we're in spaces where things are not as taboo either in the media or to talk about in these spaces. And so what have you noticed, and what newfound responsibility, if any, do you have to talk about some of these messages as long as the numbers stay up? Sports Deli is sponsored by PSK. You can find them online at lids.com, pskcollective.com, tjmax.com, walmart.com, and now Kohl's department store at kohls.com. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli.
So I don't know that, I'm in control of numbers and responsible for that. Like as far as ratings go on television, if as long as people
it doesn't necessarily have to be you yourself, but just the media in general, that words matter, narratives matter, when it comes to all these intersections, and you can still get your numbers up and make your money from your advertisers. Can't you, or can you not?
It's tough.
Good old boy network. Yeah.
This is a tough question. And this is it's tough for me to answer because there's collective narratives in the television space. So I'm going to not speak to that because it's taboo and it is too polarizing. And
talk about it from a woman's perspective. Like, we're both white, we're both Jewish. We understand the plight of our people. So what can we do just as people to pivot off that question, to be allies, unapologetic allies in these spaces for whatever it is we're talking about? Islamophobia, inequalities with women, and how much money women make versus men, and African-American women are even less. And, whether you believe in reparations, whatever, what can we do to get these narratives changed and policies eventually changed, and then teach the kids? Because really it comes down to the kids.
This is a tough question because I'm really polarizing on this, and I'm going to give it to you. Okay. I think at the end of the day, we are all prejudged. I'm judged as a woman. I'm judged, you're judged because you're a man. And maybe we're judged because we're Jewish. Maybe we're judged because we're white. Maybe, I don't know. People judge everybody. But at the end of the day, your ultimate judgment is based on your actions and your behaviors. Now, you can't control anybody else. You can't control how they ultimately bring their bias to the conversation or to the relationship. You can't control that. And that's just, you can only do your best through your actions. And there's some things that I'm not, for me and the way that I navigate the world, and people come at me for it, I don't show up as a woman. I don't show up as white. I show up with my best game. I show up to play the game and leave it all out on the field. And I expect to be compensated for showing up in that space. If I am great in that space, then I will be compensated accordingly. I don't feel that
Has anyone criticized you and you were like, they're actually right?
I don't know that this is a space that I have actually talked about in a public space of like, where I'm like, listen, I just think I was raised with 3 brothers and my parents didn't really have the bandwidth to treat me like a girl. So it was like, you did what the boys did what you did. And when I showed up in the workforce, men, I don't give off energy that I am approachable in any way as far as like a sexual object. Like, you can objectify me all you want, but you're not going to come at me with it. I don't know what it is about me, but I have just never been inappropriately nobody. And if they have even came in that space, there's just no, I don't know. I give off an energy of like, that's not like, I don't know what I do, but it is just not something that I've combated. And listen, I'm not an ugly, I show up with my best game, but people just professionally have never crossed that boundary with me. And so I can't speak from a place of experience. I just can't speak from experience. I hope I am not insulting or being, but it just isn't like, I don't think so,
but from an educational and a learning perspective, because it goes both ways, right? There's a reciprocity there, whether it's you or me or anybody else. But has anyone in your spaces, and there are women of color or other women, have they said, hey, I need you to think about this and
I've been course corrected and I've learned, and I'm continuing to learn about racial inequality. And, I have much to learn in that space. I have much to learn, and I'm open-minded and I'm happy to be corrected and redirected. at any given juncture. I only just know that I show up to run the race as fast as I can. And I hear that from Oprah. That is an Oprah quote of like, I don't look to the left. I don't try to compete with anyone. Comparison is the thief of joy. I show up to run the race and do as well as I possibly can. And whether people prejudge me or want to put me in their game and collaborate with me because of factor, I think it's based on what you show up with. That's just how I listen. Some people in Clubhouse is like, this guy always talks over women. And I'm like, that's a card. That's bullshit. That guy talks over men, women, donkeys, but I don't like when that card is played. And I don't feel this is a man or a woman thing. It's just somebody is just like, but I like being treated at the table as I show up. So if somebody's going to talk over me, I don't say they're talking over me. They talk over everyone, but they allow me at that table. And I want to be treated just like anybody else. I don't want anyone to hold back from me. We want to be nicer because she's a woman. Fuck that. I don't want to be treated by anybody else except a woman of sport. I show up to the game of life to play the game of life. It's a sport. It's arena. Do I have things that hold me back? For sure. And maybe somebody doesn't want me to put me in their game because I'm Jewish. That's their loss, because I'm a really good player in the game of life. I'm a great friend. I'm a great asset. I'm a great human being. And you don't want to hang out with me because I'm Jewish, I'm white, I'm a woman, I'm short. I'm a terrible speller. I can't sing. You want your loss. I'm amazing, but I do not like when people are like, oh, well, let's give her the mic because she's a woman. Let's, bet on women. Yeah. Listen, I just say bet on the right player. Put the right player in the game. Don't put the player in because they're white. Don't put the woman in because she's a woman. Put the player in because that player is going to kick ass. But you're only an asshole if you don't put them in because you think because they're of color or they're white or they're black or whatever. You're not going to put them in because of that. Then you're an idiot. But I think that I'm insensitive to all of, everyone else's plight, but put the player in that's good to play. Listen, I'm raising white boys and I feel like it's really hard for them right now, but I hang out with black women, white women, black men, white women, Asian, Caucasian. I don't know. I just can't, and I hate, people say, don't say, I don't see color. I don't see any of it. I came to play in the game of life and I came to play ball and I want to play with ballers, and whether they're black, white, Indian, French, Jewish, Muslim, I don't care. You have a seat at my table as long as you got good character and we can play ball. But when I say play ball, it's the game of life. I don't know. My favorite person that I look up to is Oprah Winfrey. She's a woman of color and she's a woman of color. That's just me. You can come at me. I don't know. This is just, I show up to play ball, in it to win it. I just want, I want the players that are going to run the plays. And that's all. That's my analogy to sports.
You're definitely running the plays and winning. I don't think you're insensitive. That wasn't what I wasn't trying to.
I think it can be perceived as insensitive, but can I just take it a little further and then I'll stop talking? I think people are going to come at me and then it's a way that unless they're going to educate me, but if they're going to judge me, then I don't think we're going to get anywhere. But if you're going to educate me, I'm totally open and, open for anything. But this is where I stand. I think where we're so intimidated, even myself, is I'm intimidated to stand in my own truth because I'm going to get called a racist, insensitive, and then all these narratives are going to be imposed upon me. So then I'm going to come back with the standard tagline to be polite and not really be truthful. And that goes against my brand. I want to be authentic and transparent. And this is who I am. I want to play ball.
You can be both. You can be both.
I don't know about that. I don't agree.
You don't think you can be true to yourself and be sensitive to other people's plights?
I don't know. I don't think you can be transparent and authentic and also run the tagline, the standard narrative on certain stations and in certain rooms. Like I think you have to say.
Isn't that what we want to change? Don't we want to change that?
I'd love to change that, but I think it's a difficult environment to change it for sure. It costs jobs. We're in cancel culture. I'm in cancel culture. I can't say what I think, I gotta, otherwise that network and that work, So, I struggle a lot. You're meeting me in a space that I'm like, it's Stop.
Yeah, well, I think we all want to stay on our lane, but how far we push the envelope and stretch the rubber band is up to each individual person.
And I applaud people that applaud, and I applaud people that stand in truth. But I guarantee, as soon as somebody is like, oh, you're being insensitive, or they call me a racist, which I'm absolutely not. I'm not by any stretch. I'll be like, oh, tell me what the line is, because I don't want to be called names. I don't like being called names. And I also, narratives to demonize me are, they hurt my feelings. And I'm a sensitive human being. I'm not just a public figure. I'm a human being raising kids, and it's tough. Do I really want that? Is that how I want to live my life, battling, name calling and negative narratives? I don't know.
Absolutely not. But, I think it's just that if you go into these spaces, that you have an understanding and awareness so that people will say, she gets it. So even if you're not completely like saying the absolute right words, or, going all in because you can't spread yourself thin, that you understand that Colin lost his fucking job, and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf lost his job, and Craig Hodges lost his job. And people criticize Serena, even though she's Serena, and these things still happen, but you're still
it makes me
admired to be admired for all the spaces that you're in, and you are pushing your envelope, even if it may not be to others' satisfaction. That's on them.
I'm still figuring it out. I think playing the long game. You mentioned Kaepernick?
Yeah.
I think that guy in the long run is going to go down as a legend. I think he is so courageous. He's so right. And I think it took George Floyd's murder for the rest of us to wake up to Colin Kaepernick's agenda. In full disclosure, I didn't think I understood it. I thought it was some disrespect to the flag, but I didn't understand that he was peacefully protesting that there was racial inequality and that people were profiling the Black community. The police were coming, and then when it put all the pieces together, as tragic as that is. And I remember going on Fox and Friends, and I said, because they asked about George Floyd, and I said, when he called out to his mother, he called out to all mothers, and I heard his call. And I hope all mothers heard his call, because he wasn't calling just out for his mother. He called out to me as a mother, Black, white, whatever. It was like, this is no good. So I have a lot of respect, and I think he has to play the long game. He will go down. Statues will be erected in his name, in my opinion. That man, I get what he was saying. Did I understand? No, it took a few more stories for my head. Listen, I'm flawed just like everyone else, but I own it now. Now I get it. And he has my full support in that space. I think he's a legend. So,
well, if that doesn't show your agility and your ability to be open to understanding things that you might not have understood, it is tragic that
ignorance. I was ignorant. I saw that video. That's still,
and there's a difference between ignorance and being in denial, or not wanting to.
I just didn't know. And now I know, and now I've tuned in and I pay attention, and it kills me. It kills me. And that I just continue, like, even hearing about it, the understanding that Black kids are taught differently if they're pulled over by a police officer. I never had access. I never knew that. That's not right. And Colin Kaepernick is the one who started that listen, I may have taken a little bit longer than anybody else, but it got me there. And it's going to continue to get people there, because we can weave these stories that start to land with people. And you're like, that's not right. It's not right.
Well, I don't think you understand. It's not right. I don't think you understand the power of some of the things that you've just talked about, and the realizations that you've come to. And the fact that that people of color have to have different conversations with their kids is something that a lot of white people still to this day don't believe, don't understand. They think people are pulling the race card. It's bullshit. Get over it.
Yeah,
the Sports Deli is sponsored by City Lokes, CITYLOCS. You can find them online at citylokes.com, where you can go and make your own personalized license plate hats. They're so cool. You got to check them out. And don't forget to enter the code TheSportsDeli at checkout for your special 10% discount. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli.
This is a good conversation. I value good convo.
Yeah.
I hope I'm adding value to this dialogue. So we're going to do rapid fire. I'm a little nervous. Okay, we can keep going.
Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien, or Jimmy Kimmel?
I don't like any. Oh, God.
It's a tie. It's a three-way tie. O'Brien.
Bryant, because he looks like this other one from the UK, and I think that's really funny. But I don't agree with Kimmel's. And Kimmel can be a little bit of a bully in his own personal right. I don't like it.
Definitely. Red or white wine?
Red, because I'm a cancer survivor, and they told me that it's better for you.
There you go. Tequila, citrus, sparkler, or Bloody Mary?
Ooh, Bloody Mary all day long.
So I do want to mention that you did read The Secret a while back, 15 years ago. So if people haven't read it, I read it. Definitely read that because I know you can get a lot out of it. Fast Times at Ridgemont High or Breakfast Club?
Breakfast Club.
Patch Adams or Animal House?
Animal House.
That's classic. Okay. Favorite person you've ever interviewed?
Oh, Joy Bayer at the Today Show. I love her. I could interview her all day long. Really one of my favorites.
Interesting. What day do you prefer, 12/4 or 12/25?
December 4th
or Christmas?
December 4th. I guess, it's my day of my cancer survivorship. Damn, you are good. You are good. You are good. Yes. So that's a big day for me. I buy myself a Chanel every December 4th. I go into Chanel because it's CC, colon cancer, cure cancer. And I get these giant bangles. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mama go shopping.
Hey, let's go.
Hey.
What's your love language?
Is like touch or something like
physical touch, acts of service, touch. Yeah.
Physical touch, not gifts. I'm not what's the other one?
Quality time, words of affirmation, or acts of service.
Yeah, those all three in a tie. And then the gift thing is last. I don't know why. And I'm a terrible gift giver also. I guess I'm affirmations because when I love someone, I just literally.
Driver or passenger?
Driver.
If you're singing in the car alone, what would you be singing?
Anything Bon Jovi, really bad.
Wow.
I'm a Jersey girl.
Expect that. Interesting.
Or Van Morrison. I listen to a lot of Van Morrison.
Next thing in your bucket list?
Capri. I want to go to Capri. Yes.
Wow. What's the next thing after that?
I'd love to do a really hike camp, kind of 3-4 day, maybe some sort of adventure travel that involves camping and whitewater rafting and completely disconnecting from humanity.
Yeah, really. Okay, a few more. Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Glenn Lundy?
Oh, equal.
There you go, equal. Dodgeball or capture the flag?
Dodgeball.
I love it. Joe Namath or Eli Manning?
Joe Namath. I mean, nothing's better than Joe when he's wasted on television. Nothing makes for better TV. Nothing.
Pancakes, waffles, or French toast?
Waffles.
Wow, interesting. You ever been to Waffle House?
Of course. The grits. Love grits.
Gefilte fish, matzo balls, soup, or latkes?
Latkes.
Favorite Yiddish word? Shtick, mashugana, putz. Your father would like this. Tuchus, chutzpah, or bubby?
Chutzpah. You gotta have chutzpah.
That's right. Okay. Favorite male athlete of all time and favorite female?
Kobe Bryant.
Oh God, we could talk a whole show about that. Ugh.
I can't. That one. If anybody asks, what's the greatest celebrity tragedy?
Ugh.
Kobe. And my dog's name is actually Kobe. Yeah, Barkley was the first dog, then Kobe's the second. Clearly, we have a thing about basketball. For a 5'0" Jewish girl, I seem to.
Mind you, 5 people at the dinner table, past or present, who would be at your table?
Oprah Winfrey.
Of course.
President Abraham Lincoln.
Interesting.
John F. Kennedy Jr. Past, present. Who else would I have? You want to come to my dinner table?
Wow, my God, you just put me in the same category as JFK. Abraham Lincoln.
Let's see.
That's a first.
Else. Michael Jordan, actually, I wouldn't mind sitting with him. I like him. Oh, Charles Barkley. I love that man. Oh, God, I love that guy.
Okay,
Charles Barkley. Goodbye, Michael. Sorry. Charles Barkley.
Okay. I definitely am honored to be replaced.
Yeah, you can never
okay, so finish with the Barkley story real quick, just what it was about, and then because I know you got to go.
Oh, I surprised my kids with a dog. We were at the end of my cancer treatments and I'd been the holdout in my family for the dog. I was the one that was like, no. And I got so tired of everybody being like, how's your mother? How's your mother? And cancer treatments take forever. There's just like a slow, January to June. And I was like, I got to change the dialogue. And I had this dog trained in Atlanta, then brought up, and I surprised everyone. And the best part of the surprise was my son, Max, was in 4th grade at the time. And he had written an essay on why it was a persuasive essay, why I should have a dog. And I talked to the principal of the school and the teachers. And of course, when you're going through cancer, you can get away with murder. I could bring a donkey into the classroom and nobody's going to say anything to sound like in Survivor land. And so he reads this essay. And I walk in right after, the loud Jersey mom I am. I'm like, did I miss the essay on why you should have a dog or your persuasive essay? And he's just like deer in headlights, like, oh, my mother, oh Lord, here she is. And I had a bag with the dog. Oy vey, shmiga, like I had this dog. And then I said, I hope this will be okay. And the little dog pops his head out. Like that was Barkley, and pops his little head out. And Max is like, is this my dog? And I was like, it's your dog. And he literally had to bury his face in the dog because he was going to start crying in front of the 4th grade class. And it was like the best day of 4th grade, and surprised my daughter, surprised my husband at the time. And it's just you want to change the narrative in a household, bring in a puppy.
Totally. Well, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'd like to be a global brand where people know, I'm the curator of the good life. I find, test, and share everything that has to do with purpose, style, and adventure. And that's what I want to be known about. Like when people want to I need an idea for travel. I need an idea for entertaining. And I need an idea because I'm lost in the sauce of my purpose, that they like, you know what, Barb, let's see what Barb has to say. So whether it's like, purpose, I love talking about mindset, and style is all about living comfortably in your own skin, and adventure is living outside your comfort zone, not being comfortable, trying new things, going to Capri, doing a backroads adventure, and I want to be the go-to source for curating the good life.
I'll be first in line.
Yes, thank you.
It's been truly an honor. Namaste. If there's anyone that you feel like would be a good fit, we always ask, hey, either come back and co-host with me. I know Kelly Gunther tried to pop in, but we were in the middle of talking about your family and the Holocaust. And I'm going to message her later because she was at work. She only had a couple minutes anyways, but she does say hello. Another person from Breakfast with Champions, and Stephanie Arnold's coming on. And so I just love to share these amazing stories. So thank you again. Much love and respect. And you will become that global brand because that's the thing that you want to see for yourself. And I know it's going to happen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This was a fun conversation. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you at the breakfast table.
Definitely will. All right. Thanks so much, Barbara.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, that was amazing. Can't thank Barbara Majeski enough. You can find her at barbaramajeski.com. And she's got all kinds of things going on. Check out her website. She's got a 14-day challenge where she will actually be texting you every morning. It's only $14 per day. And I just talk about it because hearing her talk about it is just inspiring, and what she wants to do for other people and help people be the best versions of themselves is amazing. A lot of stuff that I didn't expect to talk about today, we grappled with, and she was very candid, and I think she in my eyes came across as being empathetic and inspirational, and the fact that she overcame so many things where a lot of people would just fold like a cheap tent, and she has every day gotten up and tried to be a better version of herself, and that is inspiring. She has compassion, she has empathy, while still following her inner voice and her compass. For Dr. J and Coach K, I'm Hootie Hoot. We sincerely appreciate you sharing space with us here in the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. Stop the Asian hate. Black Lives Matter. Please wear a mask. Studies show that masks absolutely work, especially if both people coming into contact with one another are wearing masks. Significantly higher. Remember, it takes a village. Until next time, much love. Peace.